Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics, and today I'm at the big show. I'm in Brimfield, Massachusetts at the largest outdoor flea market in America. Let's go find some comic books. How's it going? First Captain Universe. Bad cheap though. All right, I'm off to a good start. I've been here for 10 minutes and found the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. It's gonna be a good day, guys. It's pretty cool, actually. First Foreigner. So how many long boxes do you have in there? 30 to 50 long boxes? Oh my goodness. At least these ones are all Batman. They're all stuck together. Oh, random slabs everywhere. Oh man. Backwards. It's the Brimfield, guys. You never know what you're gonna find. This is insane. Okay guys, you know, I haven't been here very long. I like to check out as much of the flea market as possible, scope it out before I really start digging into this stuff, but you gotta be kidding me. There's like 30 long boxes in here full of comic books and slabs. I don't know how much time I got. I'll have to come back, right? All right, I bought some books from that guy, but I'm clearly gonna have to come back when I have more time to actually dig through the back of that truck. That's nuts. In all my time in Brimfield, guys, I've never seen that. We got a lot more to look at though. Let's go.
I would say it's a bank.
Yeah, if it was just a shelf. Yeah. If it was just a.
Look at you, 73 staff.
That's tempting. So I've been here less than an hour, guys, and I've already seen more comic books than I've ever seen at Brimfield before. I definitely have my work cut out for me. Right now I'm headed down to the other end of the flea market from where I parked, because there's usually a guy here who deals in old paper, specifically old comic books, lots of golden age ones. So maybe he's here. I hope so. Yes, he is here, guys. It's a good sign. Just the good stuff in here?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different box.
This is the
Gold
stuff.
and there's some silver in there.
Last year
but
when
like I said, I sold a lot. That box was full.
Last year when I showed this, a lot of people were commenting like, how did you pass some of that stuff up, you know?
Yeah.
People like the old gold age stuff, definitely. Oh yeah.
Pre-code horror.
Yeah, that's
I said,
how.
why don't you just tell me you're double?
Right, exactly.
And so he said, well, I'm gonna see if I can pull some loose, and he might bring some next show. I don't know if he will or not, but.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. So guys, I am really struggling on that Captain Marvel Jr. It's a pretty awesome comic book. It's from 1943, during the war, with the war references. It's tight in terms of what I think it's worth. I think I can get it for like $220, which I think is pretty much right on based on what I'm seeing and what my friends are telling me. I gotta think about it a little bit longer, guys. Not sure. All right, getting really busy now, picking up. So what's kind of crazy about Brimfield is that there are separate different markets within this place. It's not one flea market. There's lots of them, and you see they open on different days of the week at different times. So depending on which day you come, you know, it could be a whole different flea market. Makes it kind of hard to track down comic books regularly. You kind of have to come every single day to make it work out, but keeps it exciting, right?
That's got a number in there. Yeah. I got my glasses on.
So I'm back in the truck, guys. I'm gonna start digging. Let's see what I can find.
Oh, that's funny.
We get a whole run of X-Men here, guys. Might be some good ones.
Yeah, but a guy came in and he said he's got like 65,000.
There are definitely some decent ones. Oh man, did I just see what I think I saw?
Yes.
It's not like they give you a whole chunk.
No, it's
Look, they make the maximum, and that little
Yes.
slice could cost you 10, 20 bucks.
yeah.
Everywhere you look, guys. Everywhere you look, I keep finding good stuff. I could be here for days at this rate. Wow. All right, let me film this for the posterity here. All this stuff, 40 bucks. Deal, Jeff. Thanks you so much, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
261.
Sounds
Ah.
like super wealthy, but you know, I don't
Nice.
know.
First crossbones.
Yep, a nice stage look. I like that.
Sweet. Stick a fork in me. I am done, guys. That was a pretty long morning of hunting for comic books at Brimfield, but I did pretty great. I can't wait to go home and show you guys what I found. So there you go, guys. That was the legendary Brimfield Flea Market in Brimfield, Massachusetts. Depending on your definition of a flea market, this is usually described as the largest outdoor flea market in America, and some people even say the entire world. Now, I don't know if that's true. All I can tell you is that it's absolutely massive, sometimes dauntingly so, and depending on the day you go, it can look entirely different. It comes to town 3 times a year in the spring, summer, and fall for a week each time. I'm very lucky that I live pretty close to this town, and I've been going to this flea market for years, not only hunting for comic books, but all the other things I collect, like antiques. And you guys heard me say it in the footage, of all the times I've ever been to Brimfield, this time I saw more comic books than I'd ever seen there before. And this was the best day I've ever had at Brimfield, hands down. But it was the best day not because of the comic books I got, which are pretty great, by the way. It was the best day because of someone I got to spend the day with. So I got to give you guys a quick story and a shout out to a very special friend that I got to meet at Brimfield. So let's quickly go back to last fall. My channel is brand new, like a month old, and I did a 2-part video on hunting for comic books at Brimfield. Well, someone who watched that video DM'd me on Instagram saying they were interested in going, but they'd have to fly in. They were curious like where they would fly into and where they would stay. Now, this isn't that unusual. People ask me all the time about information on the places I hunt for comic books. What was unusual was that this person was from Sydney, Australia. So my first thought was, this person's nuts. Like, there's no way they're gonna pull this off. Why would you fly all this way, spend all that money to see the world's biggest collection of junk, quite frankly? But still, you know, I was very nice, and I told them like where to stay, like where I would stay, where I would fly into, things like that. And I didn't think anything would come of it. Well, a few months later, you could imagine my surprise when that same person said, they booked the trip. They were heading to the United States for the first time. They were visiting a friend in another part of the country, then making their way up here to hunt for comic books at Brimfield. And guys, I started freaking out. I felt personally responsible for this person, you know, taking this arduous journey to America for the first time from literally the other side of the world. And I was worried, like, what if they're disappointed? What if, you know, they got here on my recommendation and there weren't many comic books, or it was, you know, raining. I've been there in torrential downpours. Still fun, not nearly as fun, obviously. So I was worried, but still, I was excited to meet this person. I said, it's the least I can do. I want to meet them when they're there. So we stayed in contact. He made the trip. And on the second day of Brimfield, which is the footage you saw, I got to meet him, and I got to spend the whole afternoon with him. He was a wonderful human being named Chad. So when we met, the first thing he said to me was he couldn't believe how nice everyone had been in the United States since he arrived, which was a little surprising to me. But once I got to know him, I wasn't surprised at all because he had an incredibly endearing personality. Every single person he talked to seemed to just gravitate to him immediately. Maybe it was his accent. You could hear his accent at the end of that footage there, but I think it was just because he was such a nice person. And the fact that, you know, we hunted for comic books the whole afternoon, guys, it shouldn't be really any surprise. We didn't talk about comic books. We talked about everything else. We talked about life. We talked about our countries. We talked about our experiences. We even went out for dinner later and had some burgers. Just a fantastic day all around. Chad, you're a wonderful human being, and I really enjoyed meeting you. I hope we stay friends forever. Now, Chad wanted me to give you guys a few shout outs of people that he wanted to mention. The first one is this. When he got there on the first day, he took a cab there, but then on the way home, that like fell through. The cab fell through, or his Uber, whatever it was. He got stranded at Brimfield. Well, he happened to be looking through some comic book boxes and was talking with someone else next to him doing the same. And as they got to talking, they found out they had something in common. They both watched this channel, and they actually heard about Brimfield because of that video they watched. So they were talking about that, and then the topic came up that, you know, Chad was stranded, and this person very graciously offered to drive him all the way back to his hotel, and it wasn't that close, guys. So Chad wanted me to give a shout out to Carl. Carl, thank you for being a gentleman and a good Samaritan and giving, you know, comic collectors and Americans in general a really good name and a good impression to this person from Australia. And absolutely thank you for watching the channel as well, Carl. There's one more shout out that Chad wanted me to mention, and that is to the Grail Hunters Australia. This is a group that Chad belongs to. They're on Facebook. They have a podcast, and they talk about comic books and all sorts of other cool collectibles. So shout out to you guys. And honestly, if Chad is any indication of the type of person in this group, you must be wonderful people indeed. So all that being said, guys, I also got some pretty awesome comic books at some really great lunch money prices. Before I show you what they are, if you like this stuff and want to support the channel, please head on down, hit that like button, share my channel with others. Always feel free to comment and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. So first, I actually want to talk about a comic book I did not get, and it was that Master Comics Captain Marvel Jr. It was published in 1943 by Fawcett Comics. Amazing Mac Raboy cover showing Captain Marvel Jr. in front of all of these soldiers. And guys, as a collector of comic books and antiques and as a history buff, I loved the cross-section between the superhero and World War II. I thought this book was amazing looking. I just didn't know anything about it. The vendor had $275 on it, I think. I think he was willing to come all the way down to like $220, but I was trying to like look it up and I couldn't even find like any value on it anywhere, certainly not on eBay. So I reached out to two people that I knew would know a lot more about this book than I would. The first one was my buddy Matt. I've mentioned him on the channel in the past. He's a big Golden Age collector, and more importantly, I know he follows a lot of like the other auctions I don't, like Heritage. So when I sent him a picture of the book and told him the price and stuff, he got back to me pretty quickly, and he found a ton of stuff about this book being sold recently in different grades and things like that. And he thought for the price, based on the condition I could see in the bag, he thought it was actually a pretty good deal. Not an incredible deal, but a pretty good deal at that price. But the second person I reached out to was none other than fellow comic book YouTuber, Alex the Comic Hoarder. So Alex is a fantastic comic YouTuber, one of the inspirations for my channel. I absolutely love his stuff. I've been watching him for a long time, and because of that, I know he loves old Golden Age Captain Marvel Jr. So I reached out to him on Instagram. I sent him some pictures and a quick recap of like what it was, and he called me back on my cell phone. And it was funny, guys. It was the first time I've ever spoken to him in person, and he said, Mike from Lunch Money Comics, this is Alex from Alex the Comic Hoarder. And it was great. So after like a 30-second conversation about like where the heck I was and where I saw this book, he started giving me the rundown on it. So he knew all the information that Matt did regarding how much it would be worth, but then he started giving me a full breakdown of like what to be looking for in this book. These older books often had a lot of color touch. They only had one staple, so a lot of times the pages would come loose or go missing. So Alex said, go back, check out the book, count the pages, look for color touch, and if everything looks in order, that's a great price to get for that book. And the kicker was, he said, if you ever get sick of that book, I'll buy it from you. So I thought, hey, this is a win-win situation. I got to go back and inspect this book closer. So I did go back, I took it out, and as soon as I started pages, I noticed that some of the folios in it were loose. I don't know how many. I immediately stopped, put it back, and let Alex know the bad news. And he said, if the guy's willing to come down more, it might still be worth it, but the guy wouldn't budge. And I don't blame him. He said he had someone who was very interested in it. So that's fine. So I ended up not getting the book. However, it was a fantastic learning experience. I mean, this is a testament to how great the comic community is, guys. You may not know everything about a comic book, but you almost certainly know someone that does. And it's great to be able to have people like Matt and Alex to fall back on when, you know, you're hunting in the wild and may not have all the information you need right at your fingertips. So I didn't get the book, but thank you very much to Matt and Alex for giving me a great learning experience. And I know a heck of a lot more about 1940s Captain Marvel Jr. books now. Okay, so now let's talk about the comic books I actually did get. Starting with a pretty great one. You guys saw it in the footage. I got it within 10 minutes of being there. The person I got it from, this vendor is always set up kind of near where I always park. And he has an old, dusty, dirty collection of comic books that I always look through. And I was doing the same thing, going through these books. I didn't see anything I hadn't seen before. But he recognized me and he said, actually, I have a stack of good comic books to show you. And he came over and dropped the stack down on the boxes next to me. And this was sitting right on top. And of course, it's this. This is the Incredible Hulk number 271 from 1982, art by Al Milgrom, and this is the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon in a comic book. So Rocket Raccoon actually premiered in a magazine called Marvel Preview number 7 in 1976. It was kind of like a collection of short stories, and in that book, he was called Rocky Raccoon, based on the Beatles song of the same name. And then basically he did nothing for 6 years until he showed up in this book, making this his first appearance in a real comic book. So this is a book I've always liked and been interested in, but it's kind of pricey, especially, you know, with Guardians of the Galaxy just coming out. This book was kind of inflated, so you can imagine my surprise and delight when I saw it had a price tag of only $70. Now, I think there's a couple reasons for that. I mentioned the books were dirty. Well, this one's no exception. Although it presents great and this white cover is relatively clean in the middle, it does have some issues on the edges. You can see there's some staining up in this corner here, a little bit down the bottom as well. But otherwise, it's actually in pretty great condition, and it actually presents really well. But I actually had another book that I found looking through those boxes, and it was this. This is Micronauts number 8. This is known as the first appearance of Captain Universe. This book is in terrible shape. You see the white parts of it are like really stained and dirty, like foxing or dirt or mold. There's even a tear on the back. Why did I get this book? Well, the reason is my buddy Jeff at Comic Spa loves the Micronauts, especially the early issues, and specifically loves this book. He's also looking for books that are pretty beat up to try out some new equipment on, so I thought I would get this as well. So, you know, seeing the condition of both these books, I just offered the guy, I said, hey, would you take 50 for both of these? And he said, sure. So I think that is a pretty great deal just for this book alone. And guys, you know, again, 10 minutes in to the flea market, I already have first Rocket Raccoon at a great price. I knew right then and there this is going to be a great day at Brimfield. So these next two comic books I got for $1 a piece. The vendor didn't have a ton of great comics and they weren't in the best condition, but these were sitting right in the front and they were totally worth picking up. First, we have X Factor number 5. This is known as the first cameo appearance of the notable X-Men villain Apocalypse. Very cool pickup there. And the other one is, I don't think it's a key as far as I know, but it's cool. This is Batman number 267. It's from 1975. Really cool Giordano cover showing Death or the Grim Reaper looming over Batman. So yeah, again, they're not in the best condition, but totally worth picking up $1. You find lots of stuff like this at Brimfield, guys. You know, these kind of beat up comic books that are unbagged or boarded, but you never know. You can sometimes find some really good stuff in there really cheap. Okay, so now we have to talk about that truck. So I actually didn't notice the truck right away. The guy had a whole bunch of tents set up, and underneath were lots of great collectibles, including tons of boxes of comics. And there was some really good stuff in there. Going through those boxes, I was able to pick out 5 comic books I was very interested in. And let me show you those ones first before I talk about the truck. First, we have the Amazing Spider-Man number 151, 1975, great John Romita cover. Why I like this book? For 2 reasons. One, it reminds me of the very famous cover of Amazing Spider-Man number 33. And also, this ties in with the whole Clone Saga and, you know, the history of Ben Reilly. So a very cool comic book. I love it. I think it's great. I don't think it's in great condition, but it's a cool looking book. I also got one of these. I recently picked one of these up. I got it cheap. This is Blue Beetle number 1 from 1986. And this is the first appearance of Blue Beetle in DC Comics. Then we have the Spectacular Spider-Man number 116. Great cover showing Black Suit Spidey fighting Sabretooth. This is also known as the first appearance of the character The Foreigner. And there are rumors that The Foreigner is appearing in the new Kraven movie. Don't know if that's true. This awesome book. Look at this. Captain Marvel number 57. I don't know what happens in it. I'm assuming Captain Marvel is fighting Thor. I just thought it was a great cover of a classic battle between these two guys. Pretty cool looking book. And finally, an X-Men book I already owned, but this is a better copy. This is Uncanny X-Men number 159. Great cover. And I believe in this one, Storm gets bit by Dracula and turns into a vampire. Because. So yeah, these 5 comic books, I was able to go up to the vendor and I got them for $25 for all of them. Thought that was a pretty good deal. So I'm paying for these books and the guy goes, did you check the truck? I said, why? He said, because there's like 30 to 50 boxes of comic books in there. Are you kidding me? I climbed up, you guys saw in the footage, they were everywhere and they were pretty disorganized. And I was like, I just don't have time for this right now. I mean, this was only like 10 minutes after that Rocket Raccoon. I've been there like half an hour. And I'm like, I can't go through all this right now. I said, hey, man, I got to meet some people. I had to meet Chad still. I'll have to come back later on. So when I did meet up with Chad, I said, hey, where do you want to start, you know, hunting for comic books? He said, did you meet the guy with the truck? I said, yes, I did. He said, yeah, that's a great guy. His name is Jeff. I had a great conversation with him yesterday, bought some comic books. Let's go back there. Sounds great. So I went back and sure enough, you know, this guy Jeff recognized Chad immediately. They just struck up a conversation. Like I said, Chad was a very charismatic guy. And this guy, Jeff, come to find out, was actually from Michigan. He owns this Jeff's Antiques, and he comes to Brimfield all the time. I've never seen him before. At least I've never noticed the truck before. And evidently, that's just a small amount of all the comics he has in his warehouse back in Michigan, which blows my mind. So here I am in the back of this truck, you know, digging through. And guys, even with the extra time, I mean, I couldn't scratch the surface, I feel like. You know, I was tired, but I was finding stuff left and right, and you never know. Every box, I got to check this box now. It was nuts. So I found a box of X-Men books that were actually pretty well organized. But as I'm going through them, this guy Jeff is sort of like steering me away from them. He's like, I wouldn't look too closely at the X-Men books. And I thought that was crazy. I'm like, you can't keep me away from X-Men books. That's my jam. But I found out afterwards why. I walked down with this gigantic stack of comic books, and Chad goes, "Oh no, Mike, why?" Because he, as a present, as a surprise, had bought me 5 X-Men books, and I had several duplicates in the pile I grabbed, and both Chad and Jeff were trying to steer me clear so I wouldn't ruin the surprise. So I ruined it. I'm sorry, but these are the 5 books Chad got me. Thank you so much, Chad. These are really nice. We have the Uncanny X-Men number 222, fantastic cover of Wolverine fighting Sabretooth. We have X-Men number 234 of Wolverine like turning into a brood. We have number 245. This is sort of like a joke comic, I think. It also has like some cool like space references, if I recall, where it's like has like E.T. and Star Wars characters in it, like Jabba the Hutt and Chewie. It's a weird comic. We have number 260 and 270. Again, thank you so much, Chad. I'm sorry to ruin the surprise. But I did have a huge stack of X-Men books myself. I'm going to go through them quick, guys. First off, we have X-Men Annual number 8. Great little cartoony cover showing Dazzler. I did get an X-Men 222 because I love the cover so much. Scratch that. I got 2. Again, now I have 3, but again, Chad, thanks. I really like it. Next, we have number 224. Awesome cover showing Longshot, who I love. I love Longshot. Then we have number 227. This is also the first full appearance of the villain, the Adversary, who's usually associated with Forge. We have number 228, 230, another great Longshot cover. We have number 236, which is the first appearance of the Gene Engineer. Number 237, awesome cover here on 258, Wolverine. 259, great Colossus cover. And 262, awesome Forge cover. But I got some non-X-Men books as well. I found this one. This is Green Lantern number 132. Don't know what happens in it. I just really like Green Lantern covers. I also got this one, Wonder Woman number 14 from 1988. Awesome George Perez cover. The reason I got this one is that there's someone in Germany that I'm doing a comic book trade with, and they sent me their wish list. And this was on there. I recognized this George Perez cover. So when I saw this in these boxes, I had to pick it up for him. Great cover. And then listen, guys, I've been talking a lot lately about how much I love Justice League Dark characters. I've been collecting a lot of the first appearances of those characters. Well, their first true appearance as a team was in 2011 in Justice League Dark number 1. And that was like their true first appearance. And I've been meaning to get it and read it. So I had ordered it on eBay, and it arrived at my house the day before I was in Brimfield. This is it right here, Justice League Dark 2011 by Peter Milligan, Mikkel Janin. Happy to get this. Now, when I was ordering this book, I almost got the trade paperback of the first 6 issues of this, but I decided I'd rather hold out and get the actual comic books of those issues. So I got number 1 the day before. Now I'm in Brimfield. I'm looking through these boxes, and what do I find? A ton of Justice League Dark comics. I got number 2, number 3, number 4, awesome Deadman cover. Number 5, number 6, great Satana cover, number 7, and there were a lot more climbing up into like the 20s that I didn't pick up. But guys, I'm happy I held out and didn't get the trade paperback because I'd much rather have the real thing, and I was able to pick them up for really cheap. Something else I found that is absolutely awesome, I've mentioned on the channel in the past, I'm a huge fan of the Dark Crystal. It made a big impression on me when I was really little. Kind of scared the crap out of me. I have the Dark Crystal comic book number 1, but I'd never seen this one before. This is the Dark Crystal Marvel Super Special graphic novel. It's like in a French album style. It's awesome, guys. Basically, it is a comic book version of the movie. The art is fantastic. The colors are bright. It's in really good condition. I'd never seen it before, and I absolutely had to have this as a Dark Crystal fan. I absolutely love it. So here's the crazy thing, guys. I had all these comic books, all those X-Men books, all these Justice League Dark books, this Dark Crystal, and I asked this guy, Jeff, how much, and he sold all of them to me for $40. What a great deal. I thought that was a fantastic deal. I was happy. I was ready to go home. And then I looked off to my right and saw there was one more box. One more box I hadn't checked. I just idly lifted up the cover, and I saw so much good stuff in there. I had to go look one more time, and I bought a few more books. The first one is this. This is Captain America number 360. This is the full first appearance of the villain Crossbones. And then I also found this one, Masters of the Universe number 1. This one here is from 1986. This is actually not the first appearance of the Masters of the Universe in comic form. That was actually a DC series from 1982. It was actually a 3-part series. So this is the full first ongoing series of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, published by Marvel under their Star Comics label. So yeah, this book can go for quite a bit if it's in good condition. This one is not in good condition. And you see at a price tag of $15. So I was able to get this and the first Crossbones for $25 additional, but only after I paid for these did I realize that of the two price tags on the front, one of them was actually on the book. So I felt so bad. I was like, oh, Jeff, I didn't notice that. I'm not really interested in having it, if it has a sticker on it. He said, oh, don't worry. I have like 6 copies of that book. Let's go look through and we'll find it. So me, him, and Chad started looking for more of these comics, and we couldn't find them. And we basically, after like 15 minutes, came to the conclusion that he must have sold them at one point, which kind of bummed me out. However, when I was looking for another copy of this, I found another book that I wanted. And it is this. This is Secret War #2 from 2006 by Brian Michael Bendis and Gabriel Del Otto. And this comic book here is known as the first appearance of Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Anyone who watched the ABC show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. knows exactly who Quake is, played by Chloe Bennett. I love that show. So I'm a fan of the character. Maybe she will eventually show up in another Marvel property in the future, like Secret Invasion. I don't know, but I've always wanted the first appearance of Quake. So I saw this book and I said, Jeff, can we just swap this for the Masters of the Universe book? And he just looked at me and said, just take them. Just take them all. And he gave me this book. Well, whichever one you want to say he gave me, I'll say he gave me the Masters of the Universe book. Pretty awesome. What a great guy. All right, I can barely hold these up. So on the whole day, I got all of these comic books for $150. Listen, my whole channel is about finding comic books cheap at flea markets and yard sales. I'm pretty good at it, but I think I even outdid myself this time. A fantastic haul of comics. And if this was the only thing I brought back from Brimfield, it would have been a successful day. But the best part was meeting a new friend in Chad from Australia. Fantastic day, Chad. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. And of course, the comic books also help. Listen, guys, if you ever go to Brimfield, hit me up. DM me on Instagram or shoot me an email at lunchmoneycomics@gmail.com. I would love to meet up with you. In the meantime, guys, I hope you keep hunting for comic books in strange and unusual places like gigantic flea markets in the back of yellow moving trucks. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.